Hello YouTube and welcome. It's been a little while since I posted a video. I've been very busy in other aspects of my life. I'm still working on some gravity videos and really do hope to have them up soon. Apologies if you've been waiting for them. I'm going to try and do quite a quick sort of live debunk video just now. I was having a coffee and the video I was looking at on YouTube, and the video from Ranty Flat Earth, as he is now calling himself, appeared on my recommended videos, and it's this one entitled 18.7 mile ball busting observation on a flat Earth. And in the thumbnail here, it has the caption, "According to the globe, this is impossible." Well, that piqued my interest, so I had a little look at it, and after watching it, I immediately thought, well, he's actually shown nothing of the sort. But 5 minutes research really confirmed that, and not only confirmed that what Ranty has shown here is most definitely not impossible on a globe Earth. In fact, far from it. It's exactly what the globe Earth predicts, but it's also another nail in the coffin of the flat Earth, because it's impossible on a flat Earth. So I'll play a bit of Ranty's video and then make some comments as we go through it. Excuse the noise in the background. This is the wind and Ranty's microphone. It starts by panning across the scene that we are going to be talking about.
We have Walney Lighthouse. You can just make out the chimneys of the house that sits behind the sand dune behind it. The focal height of Walney Lighthouse is 69 feet.
These are chimneys of a house next to the lighthouse tower. Walney Lighthouse has a focal height of 69 feet. It has an overall height of 79 feet, so that's to the very top of the tower. It's 10 feet above the height of the light. And that's above sea level, because that's the height. Heights are always given above sea level for lighthouses. If we actually have a look at some pictures of Walney Lighthouse, we see that it looks like this. We have a tower, the light at the top, and then above that a roof and a little finial or whatever on top of that, which presumably accounts for the other 10 feet. And you can see that next to the lighthouse, Walney Lighthouse, there is a two-story dwelling house. There's also this white wall and some low building here, garages or sheds or whatever. So the question that I have for Ranty is, if we can see the chimney pots of the house, which is what Ranty claimed we could see. Hang on, I've got to find Walney Lighthouse now. Okay, well, let's go back to this one. We can see these chimney pots, as Ranty claimed. As we'll see, this central chimney pot is hidden behind the tower from our vantage point, our viewpoint, or Ranty's viewpoint. We can see this chimney and this chimney, the ones at the gable ends. And why can't we actually see the rest of the house? After all, it's all painted white. Only a small portion of it is grey, the roof, and even that has these dormer extensions, which would appear should appear to reflect plenty of light back to the camera, and we should be able to see them, and we can't. Just going back to the lighthouse picture, and there are plenty of other pictures that we can look at of the same thing. So if you take this block here, which is the dark part on Ranty's video, and you come down 1, 2. I haven't got the time to measure this out accurately. 3, perhaps 4 and a little bit. We're level with the tops of the chimney pots here. So that suggests that what we're actually observing is everything above a line you might draw across here. And the question is, why can't we see the rest of it? Why can't we see all of these buildings? This is at least another 1/3 of the total height, plus of course the 9 meters of sand dune on which the whole thing is constructed. So here I've drawn these lines in from Ranty's, or as close as I could get to Ranty's actual position. He was out on the sands, so difficult to pinpoint his position absolutely precisely, but I think I'm pretty close. And here is Walney Lighthouse. It's about 13.5 miles from where Ranty was located, for those of you who work in miles. And you can see the tower, and from our line of sight, the tower would be in the way of this chimney here. But we should see the ones on either side, and indeed that's what we do see. But we should also be able to see down to the base. And Ranty claims we can see to the base of the lighthouse, but that is clearly untrue. We are not seeing anywhere near the base of the lighthouse. So, Ranty, where is the rest of the building? Where are the sand dunes on which the building is located? And you cannot claim that this area here is sand dune, because the house is located on top of the sand dune. And when I say on top of, I mean on top of. At this point here, according to the Google Earth elevation, and I'm sure that Ordnance Survey and others will confirm that this is indeed a higher point. This is about 9 meters all the way around this dwelling here. Goes down to 8 meters over here, but on this side and around the front here, it's at 9 meters. And if you look elsewhere around here, it remains at 9 meters. It never really gets above 9 meters. As we follow our line of sight back here, gradually starts to drop. So it comes to 8 meters here, and now it drops down eventually to 7, down to 6, to 5, to 4, and eventually back to roughly sea level. So while the precise figures may be out by a little bit, because Google Earth is not going to be perfectly accurate for these elevations, they're within a margin of error. This land all slopes down on our line of sight, and the lighthouse building is actually built pretty much on the highest point there. So why can't we see? I mean, 9 meters translates to 30 feet. This the total height of the Walney Tower above sea level, mind you, is only 70 feet, and that includes the 30 feet of the sand. So we should be seeing all of the house, which I would imagine is about 30 feet high, the rest of the tower, which should be about 30 feet high, and the sand dune. All we can see is the top of the tower, and the amount of darker area here gives us a good idea of the proportion of that tower that we're seeing, and it corresponds coming down to the rooftop there. So wonderful evidence that indeed much of the lighthouse buildings and the sand dune are in fact obscured by our horizon, the water horizon here. Not perfectly acceptable, exactly what would be predicted on a globe Earth. On a flat Earth, you have a direct line of sight between yourself and the sand dunes and the dwelling house around Walney Lighthouse, yet you cannot see it.
Here we go. And this is his claim. This is his claim that there's an awful lot of content in here. He waffles on for 35 minutes, and he goes on to say that I should see essentially all of this building, which I have said on numerous times. There is a seawall, a sand dune in front of the building. Right now, I can't recall exactly how many times I've said that. Perhaps 50 or 60 times maybe at different points, but you can actually see the chimneys poking out behind this sand dune that's in the foreground. Of course, when we go down to some of the comments and such, we get a lot of trolling, basically saying that I'm lying through my teeth, etc., etc. I'm proving the globe, all this rubbish. Yeah, I mean, it's predictable that you get these trolls living on the words of this guy. 72 likes, 8 dislikes. I haven't disliked it yet, so I'm actually going to dislike it now because it's not correct data. 644 views. Okay, so essentially he goes throughout the video saying this seawall, this house should be visible in the observation, and I've said numerous times that there's a seawall in front of it. He specifically, I mean, I can't play the video with you hearing it, so I'll have to outcrop that and do it in the video later. But he challenges me to prove him wrong that this lighthouse is not sat on top of the hill, right, which he claims in Google Earth. I'll show you that in Google Earth right now. So he claims that this, if you hover over here, you can see at the bottom the elevation, that's down here. Got a little elevation thing that says 5 meters there. When you hover it over the lighthouse, it says that the elevation is 9 meters. And then he goes to move across to towards the sea. It comes down, it goes to 8 meters, 7, 6, 5, 4. So he assumes from this and makes quite wild claims that this is sat on top of the hill, at the top of the hill, and this lighthouse with its adjoining house and wall that goes around it should be visible. Now, I might have an image of that. Perhaps, where would we find that? So, here we go. So, here we have the lighthouse, the house that adjoins it, the wall. Now then, this is a screenshot that I'm going to show you guys in a moment. It's from a gentleman that did a video with a high definition drone, and he was in the area. I think he actually lives in the lighthouse, if I'm correct. But I've got permission to use his video from him because essentially it just knocks his complete claim out of the water. Now, I think you guys already can see where this is going to go. I've lined up the buildings here. Obviously, this is the corner of the brick wall. There's the house. There's the lighthouse. And if I go to Google Earth and I zoom in, obviously I've got this line here. This line is running in the same direction. We've got the corner of the wall. We've got the lighthouse and the house here. So this is the exact line of sight. And this guy that's filming with his drone is sat here. He's in a wheelchair and he's sat in this position here. And what happens is he lowers down the drone. He's continually capturing both the house and this area of land over here, which coincidentally comes inside with these lines that go across the map here, which is my line of sight. So from this, where my cursor is now, follow this line across. That is my direct line of sight to the lighthouse here, which has to go over this area. Now, if I show you that image again, I think you'll know where this is going to go right now. This is the line of sight. Obviously, there's the sea over here. And what I've done is I've stopped it at the horizon. We all know the horizon is level. So we've got a horizon that's level. Oh, where are we? Scrolling a bit. So I've managed to stop it at the exact point where this hill, which I've said is there all along, this sand dune, is essentially level with the horizon. You know, it goes even slightly higher a bit further up here. And then if we come across to the other side, I've also stopped it coincidentally where the rooftop of the house is, because there's the horizon in the distance and there's the top of the house. So by virtue of using the horizon as a leveling mechanism, we can conclusively prove that the height of this sand dune on the left here is the size of the house. And how do we know it's a sand dune? Well, first and foremost, take a look at this trailer here, and behind it we have a hut, and our line of sight to the water is hidden by this sand dune, this wall that protects Walney and protects this lighthouse from the incoming tide, the incoming swell. I'm going to show you a bit of the drone footage now. So let's go up to here. So this is the end of the video, essentially. This is the gentleman. He's sat on, I believe, some kind of mobility scooter or something like that. But here we go. He's going to be lowering his drone now. I want you to pay attention to this area of land here where my cursor is right now. This is the hill, and it goes all the way around. It literally goes right up to the top. I mean, I've been in this area and I walked it. I've filmed from this location way up the top there, and I've also filmed from this location here. I've been to this area, so I know it. And watch what happens when he lowers the drone. You can pay attention to here. Can you see how this mound now rises up? And when we get to level, you can see that there's definitely a hill there. There is definitely a hill surrounding this building, right? So I do not have a direct line of sight to the house. And I've already showed you how the height of the hill can be calculated by measuring the height of the top of the roof of this building. When I lower it down, you can see everything's falling into perspective. Pause. Oh, perfect. Look at that. I couldn't have done it any better. Absolutely spot on with the horizon of the house. And the hill on the left is spot on with the horizon too. So what should I see from this position? Should I be able to see the wall that's down here that he claims is on a hill? He claims this entire building, including the lighthouse, is on a 9-meter hill, which is the highest part in this area. He doesn't acknowledge that the amount of times I've said there's a wall in the way of sand, a hill that stops me seeing the house or the bottom of the lighthouse. So the only things that I can actually see, we have a direct line of sight, is the 2 chimneys. We've got a chimney here, we've got a chimney there. We've actually got a 3rd chimney on the other side. And my direct line of sight means that I can't see the middle chimney. So I can only ever see the right hand and the left hand one. But we do see the chimneys in the videos that I've done many times. And I think this is absolutely concrete proof that Miles Davis is talking out of his arse, literally talking out of his arse. But this is what we come to expect from people like him. I mean, you can see the hill here. You can see, obviously, it's way higher than this shed that's out the back here. You can clearly see that it's there. Here's this guy landing his chopper. Yeah, just fantastic. So this is what I've just been saying now will be going into a video. It'll save me having to edit it later, and I can add all the other stuff in. So he then says that obviously this clear brown area, this clear sandy coloured area that's here, with the chimney there and the chimney here, and this brown area that's in front of the water, this brown area isn't the hill. He says that can't be the hill because this is on top of the hill and I should be able to see the house. Well, I think I've showed you guys that quite clearly that is the most, he's either being very deceptive or he hasn't done his homework, because I've mentioned that there's a sand dune around this building for months and have said it at least 50 or 60 times over and over and over that we are seeing down to the floor. Essentially, we have this sand dune in the way that is about 30 foot in height, judging by the height of the house. So we know that there's a a 60-foot portion above that. So we've got 60 foot or so. Hang on, 30 foot. Hang on, 70, 80 feet, 50 foot. So this 50-foot area here is the height of the lighthouse that we can see. The focal height is at 69 feet. The top of the chimney stacks, which are here, are approximately 30 feet above sea level. And we've got this sand dune that's in the way, which is a 9-meter sand dune or thereabouts, essentially nearly 30 feet. So when I say we are seeing floor to floor, we essentially are seeing floor to floor. Okay, you could argue that, oh, maybe I'm not seeing down to the bottom 5 feet or so, but you forget we're looking over waves here. You can see the difference in discrepancy between this wave height here and this wave height here. You know, over long distances, you could interpret that as 15 feet difference. Essentially, that might only be a 2-foot swell or a 1-foot swell, but judging by what we're looking at here, you could quite easily calculate a 15-foot drop there. One thing's for sure, though, we are seeing the chimney tops of that building and the house itself and the wall are hidden behind the sand dune, which I've said from day one is there. So clearly, obviously, he's desperate to try and increase his subscriber count, I should think, by trying to debunk the evidence that I've been doing for months. There's a reason why the ball earthers haven't challenged these observations. There's a reason for it. And the simple reason is it's unexplainable in their model, unless they are saying that they are seeing complete flatness for 18, 19, 20 miles, you know, so they have got to explain this looming. And I don't think they want to go there because it's repeatable and it has been for months. So I'm surprised that Miles Davis has decided to take me up on the challenge and try and disprove these observations because, you know, I do my research and I'm not one to just take it. The thing is, and this is quite important to me, is that I've had people coming to my channel and now saying that I have been debunked and the evidence has been debunked. And if that narrative sticks and I don't address this immediately, then essentially all the work that I've done over the past 5 or 6 months doing these observations of Barrow is going to become muddied in ambiguity. Is it, isn't it? You know, Miles Davis apparently debunked him, which is utter horse manure, because, you know, we are never going to see that house, ever going to see that house in a million years, unless this seawall gets breached by the sea. You know, we're never going to see it because, look, there's a sea wall to the left. It's a sand dune that surrounds this entire building. Now, if I go back a little bit and I show you the actual layout of the property, we have this, as you can see, we've got this road that comes in along the side of it. And right down here is where the water comes up to at high tide. You can see where the remnants of it are all here. And as we lower the camera, you'll get to see just how low down this house actually is in relation to the height of the water. So as this camera's coming in, the height of the foundations of the building can only be 3 or 4 feet above maximum sea level height. Literally, that's about it. That's about the most you can give it. I'll just let him do his thing with his drone. And you forget, I mean, I've been to this area 3 or 4 times now. So I don't believe Miles has ever been there at all. But when you actually, because you can see that it's even raised up on this side here. All these tufts, they're higher than the actual foundations of the property. The property itself is dropped into like a hole. It's literally into essentially a hole surrounded by a protective wall on the outside. And obviously it's higher than the maximum tide height that would be for the area. It's still susceptible to flooding though. That is the case. It's still susceptible to flooding, but you can see how low down this is. It's actually way down low. An actual fact, when I'm just pausing it here and he has an altitude above sea level. So it's 1 feet above sea level right now. So Actually, if you pay attention to the bottom left, bottom right, he's got well, you'll see it. I'll just take it so that red line goes away. You can see it dropping 28, 27, 22, 20, 18, 15, 14, 13, 12. This is height above sea level. Right, so there's 0, -3 feet, -5, -6 feet, -4 feet, -3. So he's below sea level here. And actually, when it's come to rest, it's actually at 0 feet. So obviously, I presume that's something to do with the actual camera just coming to rest. However, I don't want to really focus on that. It was just a neat point that I would show you. But this opens up a load of other reasons as to why I wanted him to address this. Where are we? Here we go. So here we have Google Earth, and here we have lines of sight. So I've got some lines of sight to different buildings and such. So when I come across here, and this is why it's important. This is why this drone footage is brilliant for the purposes of exposing these people for the lies that they tell. Here we have a direct line of sight to this St. James's Church. And here's another thing in the videos as well. He was giving me extra elevation height, and he was reducing the distances to the target. So I think he said it was about 13 miles to the lighthouse, when essentially it was much more than that. It was about another half a mile or 3/4 of a mile further than that. He was knocking nearly a mile off the distance to Barrow-in-Furness Town Hall and all this kind of stuff. Just little tricks, you know, knocking a mile off here and giving a few extra feet here, then adding a bit of refraction there, and essentially you can try and bullshit his way into it being some kind of ball earth proof. But here's the point. So there we have the drone coming down in this. There's where that guy was sat. There's the house. This is the line of sight for this wall that was going along here. And in the drone footage, you can clearly see, which I've seen too, because I've had to climb over these drones at these sand dunes. So along this line of sight, say from here to there, is this, you know, sand dune, and it goes all the way to the other end. It literally stretches to over here. It goes all the way across there, right up, all the way. This sand dune, it's like a sea wall. It's its own sea wall. So when we know that we've got a sea wall here across my line of sight to the buildings of Barrow, right? So Barrow Town Hall, Devonshire Dock Hall, this is the line of sight to these. And we've got this sea wall that's in the way that's much, much closer. You know, it's 13 miles away as opposed to 18 or 19 miles away to the buildings here. Well, what do you think that sea wall is going to do? What do you think this sea wall is going to stop me seeing? Is it going to stop me seeing the bottom of those buildings? Do you think that's what it would do?
And the question is, why can't we see the rest of it? Why can't we see all of these buildings? This is at least another 1/3 of the total height, plus, of course, the 9 meters of sand dune on which the whole thing is constructed.